It is important that a media text follows certain standard conventions to categorize what kind of text the product is trying to be. Therefore, a certain amount of standard conventions need to be applied to be a certain kind of product. For example, a newspaper will need specific margins, columns of text, and headlines to be a newspaper. To a certain extent, you are able to challenge some of these conventions, but some conventions need to be in place to differentiate the product. Branding was a very important feature during my research, forming part of the brand's identity. Many of the newspapers that you will look at are very easily recognizable. A prime example of this is within the Liverpool Echo, which incorporates the Liver Bird, which is a unique feature to the city, as well as a blue and red colour scheme to represent its football heritage. All these features help to form an identity to the product, which I tried to replicate in my own with a blue colour scheme and a ship to show the town's maritime features. Despite this, an additional image accompanying the name of the newspaper is not so common, with the name of the newspaper being relied upon to be recognizable enough, as you can see with papers such as The Guardian and the Daily Mail, which I challenged with the integration of my logo. I took inspiration from several local newspapers before creating the masthead for my local newspaper. There were a few things that I gathered from this in which I applied. One of these things was the size of the masthead section, with it generally taking up around a quarter of the total of the front page. Another feature that I had noticed during my research stage was also the content around the header, with ears that surround the header that work as a form of advertisement of some of the content within the newspaper. I utilized this same feature with the ears surrounding the title for the newspaper. The feature of including an article editor accompanied by a picture and contact information has been used sporadically amongst newspapers, which I noticed whilst conducting my research, with some using the feature while others do not. It is usual that there is a brief mention, however, of who wrote the article. I did, however, add the feature onto the article on the front page of the newspaper, with a close-up of the editor in a suit with a grey effect applied, which seemed to be the norm whilst looking at examples of this feature. One component of some articles that I have looked at is pull quotes. This is a technique used to separate text and to ensure that the body text does not distract the readership from reading the article and having the opinion that the article is tiresome to read. Furthermore, it can also be used as a technique to emphasize a particular important or interesting point within that article, which may attract the viewer to read the article. It is also a proficient method of filling space on the newspaper, with it being very important that there are no blank spaces within any page of the newspaper, as this would be an inefficient use of space. During my research for posters associated with newspapers, I came across newspaper self-advertisements. An example of this that I came across was a poster based on the Metro newspaper promoting itself, in this case trying to promote its personal connection with the reader. In my poster, I also tried to use this self-promotion method, and to develop on it with the poster being of a reader's image that they sent in as a way of connecting with the reader and forming a closer relationship, which they would look for in a local newspaper. A small piece of text or slogan is also featured on the poster, which I tried to implement on my own, as well as a link to the newspaper's website. The branding is also the same as featured on the newspaper, which is something I also brought over from the newspaper itself. One of the conventions that I noticed while researching radio adverts was regional identity. This became particularly apparent when I was analysing a Nando's radio advert, in which is a regional Portuguese accent to represent the type of food they sell at the restaurant.
The spirit of Nando's. My grandmother used to say to me, "If you are happy, Ricky, I am happy." She was not so happy when I was happy wearing her skirt and blouse. But she was a very, very wonderful woman. And Nando's is a very, very wonderful place.
The Tesco advert shows this to a lesser extent, with the advertisement containing a strong British accent despite the supermarket trading worldwide. This is used so that Tesco almost seemed to be a British supermarket that may use lots of British products, which may attract shoppers. With this in mind, I felt it was important to impose an accent within the advert, especially to emphasize its regional locality of it being a local newspaper. In the end, I tried to impose a West Country accent, which is where Portishead is located.